In this video, I am going to discuss law related to women. The first of law related to women, maintenance plays a very vital role. So there are two aspects of law relating to maintenance of a married woman or wife. First of all, Section 18 of Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act 1956 Act that stipulates maintenance of wife. Maintenance, that is factor, is dependent upon the income of the husband. That is called Section 18, maintenance of wife. A Hindu wife, whether married prior or after to the commencement of this act, shall be entitled for maintenance from her husband. That is the scope of this law under Section 18. So in this case, valid proof of marriage must be there. That means all the provisions of law and all the statutory complaints of relating to valid marriage must be established so that a wife can claim maintenance under the law. She has to prove that a valid marriage exists amongst her and her husband. So valid proof of marriage is very much essential, and it is a condition precedent to grant of compensation under Section 18 of Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act. In that case, the income of the husband plays a very vital role, and normally nowadays many of the courts, many of the high courts, they are giving decisions like that. Whatever the salary that is drawn by the husband, out of which at best maximum 1/5 of the salary can be awarded as a monthly compensation under this act. So that is called Section 18. So a Hindu wife must, whether married or after or prior to commencement of this act, shall be maintained by her husband under this act. A Hindu wife shall not be entitled for a separate residence and maintenance from her husband if she is leading a unchaste life or she ceases to be a Hindu by conversion to any other religion. So there are two restrictions. If she is leading a unchaste life and if she has converted to some other religion than Hindu, then she is having no entitlement or no authority to claim maintenance under Section 18. So these are some of the important guidelines given under Section 18. Then Section 19 of this act, a maintenance of widowed daughter-in-law. Any daughter-in-law who is widow, at that time, as because her husband is no more, she will be entitled to be maintained by her father-in-law. That is the scope given under this law. If father-in-law is not there, she will be maintained by her elder brother-in-law. That means husband's elder brother. So in that case, so the Section 19 of this act, Hindu Adoption Maintenance Act, stipulates that a widow shall be maintained by her father-in-law. That is, so these are two aspects, Section 18 and 19, relating to maintenance of a married lady under Section 18 and 19. Now coming to another important provision that is given under CRPC 125 CRPC, that stipulates maintenance of wife. Other maintenance also there, but now as because you are pinpointing to a particular subject, maintenance of a woman, so here we will discuss Section 125 within that scope. First of all, the law stipulates anybody who is having sufficient means neglects or refuses to maintain his wife on a application or filing a petition, she will be entitled for maintenance under 125 CRPC, irrespective of the religion to which she belongs. A Hindu can also file, a Christian, Muslim, any person, any woman of any religion can take the advantage of this section, because it is a statutory central legislation under Section 125 CRPC. So what are the things to be taken into consideration? Any person who is having sufficient means, that means the husband must be having sufficient means to maintain that lady. Second aspect, she is refusing to pay maintenance. That means many times the wife must have demanded, but the husband is refusing. So refusal, in that case, the wife is entitled to get maintenance. That means it is a case of refusal. Refuses to maintain, and that means she is unable to maintain herself. This is another vital aspect. That means the wife must not have any satisfactory incomes to attract the provision. If wife is having sufficient income to maintain herself, at that time she cannot claim maintenance under Section 125. That means wife is having no means or she is unable to maintain herself, then only she can invoke this jurisdiction under Section 125 CRPC to claim maintenance from her husband. So these are three important aspects relating to maintenance chapter for a woman under Section 18 and 19 of Hindu Adoption Maintenance and Section 125 of Criminal Procedure Code. Now let us discuss some of the penal provision related to women. First of all, Section 304B that is called dowry death. That means where the death of a woman within 7 years of her marriage found to be in a suspicious circumstance, or any bodily injury or any abnormal death is there, it will said that, and it is found that soon before her death she was subjected to cruelty and harassment by her husband or anybody related through him. So at that time it will be a case of dowry death. The presumption will go that it is a case of dowry death. That means unnatural death is a must in this condition, and second, within 7 years of her marriage. That means it must not have crossed 7 years of marriage. Within this stipulated time, if any woman found to be in a having sufficient burn injury on her person, or found to be died in a suspicious circumstance or abnormal circumstance, at that time the court can presume under this chapter that it is a case of dowry death, and there must be nexus. That means soon prior to that death, soon before that she was subjected to cruelty and harassment by her husband or anybody related through him. So at that time a presumption can be taken up, and it is a case of dowry death. So here the imprisonment is very severe. It shall not be less than minimum 7 years, and it may go up to life also. The punishment is very severe in this case, because once the punishment is very severe, the standard of proof for proving the case by the prosecution also be very severe. That means once there should not be any sort of lacuna, and this soon before of death, that is very that carries a very great value under this section 304B. It must be established beyond all reasonable doubt that soon before her death she was subjected to cruelty and harassment by her husband or anybody related to. If these aspects are proved, then it will be treated as it is a case of dowry death, and provided the death must be under abnormal or unnatural circumstance. If suppose somebody dies in a hospital while under treatment, or somebody dying in a case of suicidal hanging, so at that time it may not be presumed that it is a case of dowry death, but suspicious may arise. So these are some of the important aspects relating to this dowry death. Then another offence relating to woman, rape, 376. Whenever any woman is ravished by a man against her will or without her consent, or with or without her consent, when she is under 16 years of age, it will be treated as a case of rape. So here against her will is a very important prime aspect, and another aspect is called without her consent. So without her consent and against the will, these are two important aspects will be taken into consideration while adjudicating a case under section 376. But one thing you have to remember, as because prosecutrix is just like an injured person in any other injury cases, her evidence is sufficient enough. Single testimony of the prosecutrix who is suffering from this rape cases, so her evidence is sufficient to warrant a case against the accused, and basing on her sole testimony without any sufficient corroboration also, a punishment can also be imposed. That's why there is a rule, the evidence of a prosecutor is very much important, because her evidence will be treated as just like a injured witness. That's why the rape cases, these two things will be taken into consideration. First of all, against her will and without her consent. These two things are there. Even if consent is or without consent is there, if she is below 16 years of age, it amounts that against the will. So it will be treated as a rape case under section 376. So in that case, certain things the prosecution has to establish. A slightest penetration is sufficient to constitute an offence under section 376. That is important aspect. And single testimony of the prosecutor is sufficient for conviction, provided the evidence of the prosecutor must inspire confidence, and it must be cogent, believable and acceptable by the court. Then only the court can pass a punishment against the accused. So there must be, it must lend certain corroboration up to some extent. Corroboration is also required. By simply saying that I don't say conviction can sustain, but the conviction must lend support from some other sources, just like medical evidence. If medical evidence is getting corroborated with the evidence of prosecutors, then definitely it is sufficient. Suppose medical evidence is not corroborating with the statement of the victim or victim of rape case or a prosecutor. Prosecutor is saying something, but medical evidence is something different. At that time, it may not inspire confidence to the court basing on that testimony, a person may not be also convicted. So there is no straight jacket formula that if a single testimony is sufficient to warrant a conviction under section 376. But sometimes normally the court used to take up this view, whatever the evidence that is given by the prosecutrix or victim of rape case, and if getting corroboration from any other particulars, and it is inspiring confidence on the court basing on her sole testimony, sometimes also the case of the accused are getting punishment. So this is all relating to offence under section 376. Now let us come to another offence that is called bigamy. Section 494 of IPC, marrying again during the lifetime of husband or wife. So that is a case of bigamy. So in this case, the second marriage, whatever suppose a woman is bringing a allegation against her husband that her husband has married for the second time. So at that time, the statutory law is very strict. So here, second marriage must be established beyond all reasonable doubt. All the valid ceremonies and all the rituals of the marriage must have been complied. Then only it will be treated as a valid marriage. If the second marriage is found to be valid, then only a person can be convicted under this bigamy, that is punishable under section 494. So once a woman is bringing allegation that her husband has married during the subsistence of the marriage without taking a decree of divorce, he has married for the second time. At that time, it is incumbent duty on that woman to establish that the second marriage taken up by her husband was a valid marriage. And if all the ceremonies of valid marriage are complied, then only it is punishable under section 494 of this act. But here in this case, in bigamy cases, women are not punishable. They are not punishable under this section. Only the male persons, they are punishable under section this bigamy, that is 494. Then coming to another provision of law relating to affecting women, 498A of IPC. In this case, any husband or relative of husband, a relative of woman subjecting her to cruelty. That means any sort of cruelty given by the husband or anybody related to husband to any woman. So that is coming under the this provision of section 498A of IPC. So we will discuss what is called cruelty. Cruelty does not mean any mental cruelty or physical cruelty. Any sort of thing by which the sentiment of a woman is hurt, that is also amounts to one sort of cruelty. So cruelty is categorized into two parts. First is any willful conduct to drive the woman to commit suicide. So by any willful conduct of the husband or anybody related to the husband, the woman is driving for committing suicide. It is also one of the kind of cruelty. Second aspect is any harassment to a woman with a view to coerce her to meet any unlawful demand of any property. So anybody who is related to husband or husband himself coerce that woman or force that woman to meet any unlawful demand. So we must be very careful that the word unlawful demand is utilized. It is not given that the dowry demand word is there. So there is a difference between dowry and unlawful demand. Both are not equal. So you have to be very careful while deciding a case whether it is attracting the penal provision of 498A or not. At that time, we have to say unlawful demand that carries prime importance. So any sort of demand made by the woman, made by the man or husband or anybody related to the husband, that is called dowry demand or unlawful demand. If it is a case of unlawful demand, and that simply unlawful demand is not punishable under law. Unlawful demand must be associated with the harassment or any sort of injury sustained to the lady or to the sufferer. So unlawful demand along with the dowry claim demand, then only it is punishable under section 498. So this is another important provision. All this offence, of course, tribal by magisterial code, first class judicial magistrate used to decide, and the punishment prescribed is up to 3 years of imprisonment. But strict view of are taken where any harassment to any woman or any woman was coerced to meet any unlawful demand. So we have to take very significance of this word unlawful demand, and any sort of torture or harassment. That harassment must be having linked. There must be a link between the harassment and unlawful demand. And if these two things are independent to each other, it is not attracting the penal provision of section 498A. To meet the penal provision of 498, strict compliance of the proviso of this section must be complied. All the ingredients must be established. So the link of harassment or torture must be associated with unlawful demand to warrant a conviction under section 498A. So these are some of the important sections: 498A, 494, 304B. All these three sections of Indian Penal Code are directly related to women, and any maintenance relating to marriage dispute or maintenance, section 18, section 19, and of Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act, and the 125 of CRPC. These are important related to maintenance of a woman. So all these are in details of law relating to women.